The observation dome hummed with the soft vibration of the ship's engines as Dr. Ellen Voss settled into her usual spot among the cushions. Around her, 7 Kethrin cubs arranged themselves in a loose semicircle, their silver-furred bodies already relaxing in anticipation. Their 3 eyes blinked in sequence, left, right, center, a rhythm that Ellen had learned meant contentment. "Tonight," Ellen said, pulling up the holographic display, "we continue the story of the brave explorer who crossed the frozen wastes." Rin, the smallest of the cubs but with the brightest center eye, chittered excitedly. "The part where she finds the ancient city." "Exactly that part." Ellen smiled, noting how Rin's translator chip rendered the cub's enthusiasm perfectly. 3 months ago, when she'd first arrived at the Kethrin nursery ship as part of the Galactic Linguistic Exchange, none of the cubs could speak standard. Now they hung on her every word. The cubs called this ritual story hour, though Ellen suspected they had no real concept of human time measurement. Their species experienced time differently. Moments could stretch like honey or snap past like breaking glass. But every sleep cycle, when the ship's lights dimmed to simulate their homeworld's long twilight, they gathered here, and Ellen read to them. The explorer's name was Kira, Ellen began, her voice falling into the storytelling cadence that transcended species. She stood at the edge of the ice field, her breath forming clouds in the bitter air. Behind her, the safety of base camp. Before her, 300 kilometers of unknown terrain. The cubs leaned forward. Their ear fronds, delicate as spider silk, quivered with attention. Kira checked her supplies one final time. Water enough for 5 days. Food enough for 6 if she rationed. Fuel cells barely enough for 4. The numbers didn't add up. But humans rarely waited for the numbers to make sense. They simply... Ellen paused, searching for the right word in standard that would translate properly. They simply moved forward anyway. Why? Asked Trell, a larger cub with a scar across his shoulder fur. Why go if the numbers say no? Because sometimes, Ellen said, humans need to know what's on the other side more than they need to be safe. We call it curiosity or stubbornness. Often both. The cubs made their species equivalent of laughter, a soft whistling through their neck vents. Ellen continued, describing how Kira trekked across the endless white, how she rationed her supplies, how she sang old Earth songs to keep her spirits high when the loneliness threatened to consume her. The cubs absorbed every detail with an intensity that still amazed Ellen. The Kethrins were a cautious species, methodical and community-focused. The idea of one individual venturing alone into danger fascinated them. On the 4th day, Ellen said, Kira saw something on the horizon. At first, she thought it was another ice formation, but as she drew closer, she realized it was too regular, too geometric. It was the ancient city she'd been searching for, the one that existed only in fragments of pre-space age texts. Ellen's words began to slow. The day had been long. She'd spent hours mediating a trade dispute between human colonists and a Kethrin merchant fleet, then helped debug a translator algorithm that kept rendering human idioms as declarations of war. Her eyes felt heavy. The city's spires reached toward the... She blinked hard, trying to focus. Toward the pale sky like fingers of... Her head nodded forward slightly. The cubs noticed, their eye rhythms synchronizing in what Ellen had learned was their version of concern. Dr. Voss? Rin whispered, but Ellen's eyes had fully closed. Her breathing deepened into the steady rhythm of sleep, her head tilted back against the cushion. The datapad displaying the story's text slipped from her fingers and clattered softly to the floor, its screen still glowing. The cubs looked at each other, their ear fronds flicking in confusion. Story hour had never ended like this before. They waited for several heartbeats, expecting the human to wake. When she didn't, they faced an unprecedented situation. What do we do? Trell asked. Rin's center eye brightened, the Kethrin equivalent of an idea forming. She told us the beginning. We know how Kira thinks. We know how humans are. The small cub moved closer to Dr. Voss, careful not to wake her. We finish it ourselves. But we don't know the ending, another cub protested. We know humans, Rin insisted. Dr. Voss has told us hundreds of stories. We know what they do. The other cubs considered this. Slowly they nodded, ear fronds rippling with agreement. Rin began, voice soft but steady. The city's spires reached toward the pale sky like fingers of an ancient hand. Kira's supplies were nearly gone. Another species would have turned back, would have called it close enough. But humans keep going, Trell added, catching the rhythm. Yes, Rin continued. Kira entered the city. The buildings were empty, silent for 1,000 years. She should have been afraid. But instead she felt wonder. Another cub joined in. She explored every street, every building. She documented everything with her scanner, even though her fuel cell was dying. And when her supplies ran out completely, Rin said, she didn't panic. She found shelter in one of the ancient buildings. She melted ice for water. She waited. Waited for what? The smallest cub asked. Rin's 3 eyes blinked thoughtfully. For someone to miss her. Because humans never travel truly alone. Someone always waits for them to come home. Someone always comes looking. Yes, Trell Whistle laughed. The base camp sent a rescue team. They followed her tracks through the ice, and when they found her, she was sleeping in the ancient city, Rin finished, surrounded by the artifacts she'd discovered, already dreaming of the next place she'd explore. Because that's what humans do. They rest, but they never stop dreaming. The cubs fell silent, satisfied with their conclusion. They looked at Dr. Ellen Voss sleeping peacefully among them, and understood something profound. Their human wasn't so different from Kira. She'd crossed the vast darkness between stars, left her own kind behind, all to tell stories to cubs of another species. She was an explorer too, mapping territories of language and connection. Rin carefully retrieved the fallen datapad and placed it beside Ellen. Then, one by one, the cubs curled up around their human teacher, their warm bodies forming a protective circle. If she had finished the story for them every night, they could keep watch over her dreams. In the morning, when Ellen woke to find herself surrounded by sleeping cubs and the datapad showing an ending she didn't remember writing, she saw something else, a new text file in clumsy, translated standard. Thank you for teaching us about humans. Tonight we learned the most important lesson. You taught us that stories don't end. They just wait for someone brave enough to continue them. Rin and the Story Hour cubs? Ellen felt tears prick her eyes. She looked at Rin, now awake and watching her with that bright center eye. Did I finish the story? Ellen asked softly. Rin's ear fronds rippled with amusement. We all did, just like humans would. And in that moment, Dr. Ellen Voss understood what the galactic linguistic exchange was really about. Not just teaching alien species to speak like humans, but learning to dream together, in whatever language they chose.